where he said, if I had, even if that terrible shooting, I'd probably have gone in there even if I didn't have a weapon. That's what a 10-year-old says. I could beat up a lion. I could fight a lion if I had to. In the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up! I know he's your friend, but I don't care.
Have you ever watched someone dismantle a weapon by simply standing outside its range? That is what Ricky Gervais has been doing since 2016. Not louder than the weapon, not faster, not with a counterweapon. From outside the range, from the specific geographic, professional, and philosophical position of a man who is a British atheist living in London who does not want an Emmy, who cannot have his citizenship threatened, whose career does not depend on American studio relationships, whose comedy does not require American political approval to function, and who therefore exists structurally, not rhetorically, outside every instrument of management that the Trump operation has deployed against every American comedian, actor, musician, and public intellectual who has criticized the administration since 2015. The weapon requires jurisdiction. Jurisdiction requires a target to be inside a specific domain. Gervais is not inside the domain. And from outside the domain, what the weapon looks like is not threatening. It is material. The richest, most self-generating comedy material in a decade. Not because Trump is funny. Gervais has been precise about this distinction since 2016. Because a man who responds to comedians is a man who has decided that the comedians are worth responding to. And the moment a powerful person decides a comedian is worth responding to, the comedian has won the only argument that matters inside a comedy set. The 7-minute segment that makes MAGA furious in March 2026 does not begin in March 2026. It begins in October 2016 in a Business Insider phone interview, when Gervais is asked about Trump and produces the sentence that the entire decade of commentary is a footnote to. He's a joke that got out of hand. For words that contain the complete structural argument, not he's dangerous, not he's wrong. Not the political vocabulary that American commentators have been using, and that has consistently been processed by the Trump operation through the counter-narrative machine without consequence. A joke that got out of hand. The vocabulary of a comedian identifying a specific mechanism by which performance, a brand, a persona, an act of sustained public self-promotion, exceeded the container it was built for and became something that the people who thought they were laughing at are now inside. He adds, he's got more in common with David Brent than with JFK. David Brent, the character Gervais created and played for 2 seasons of The Office and 1 feature film, the regional manager of a paper company in Slough, England, whose defining characteristic is the gap between his self-perception and his actual standing, the gap between the charisma he believes he projects and the discomfort he actually produces, the gap between the respect he craves and the embarrassment he generates. Gervais did not create David Brent as a political character. He created him as a specific study in the management style of someone whose psychological need for approval exceeds his ability to produce a performance that approval requires. The manager who tells the staff he is their friend, who confuses authority with affection, who mistakes the silence of people who cannot contradict him for the agreement of people who respect him. He did not create the character knowing it will become the most accurate description of the 47th President of the United States. He created it in 2001. The description caught up with reality 15 years later. January 12, 2020. The Golden Globes. Gervais hosting for the 5th time. The monologue is the monologue, the specific Gervais mode of simultaneous assault on every person in the room. The insult comedy that the room receives because the room has been assembled by an industry that believes in absorbing the joke as the price of the prestige of the evening. He tells the Hollywood audience not to get political. He notes that they are not in any position to lecture anyone on morality. He describes the streaming executives in the front rows with the flatness of someone describing laboratory specimens. The following morning, MAGA Twitter erupts in celebration. The man who told Hollywood to shut up. The man who attacked the liberal elite. One of theirs. A fellow traveler. Screenshots circulate. Praise pours in. The celebration continues for 48 hours. It is based on a complete misreading of the monologue and a complete ignorance of everything else Gervais has ever said in public. Gervais watches it from London with the specific amusement of a man who has been called an atheist, a leftist, a godless ape, and a Trump hater in the same breath that MAGA is using to claim him as an ally. He posts not a long statement, not a clarification, not the performed outrage of someone whose identity has been misrepresented. He posts one question: do they know I spent 5 years calling Trump a joke? He does not clarify further. He does not need to. The record is the record. The Business Insider interview is the record. The J.K. Rowling fake news tweet exchange is the record. February 2017. Rowling posting, "Can you imagine the number of mirrors this man must have smashed?" And Gervais responding, "Any tweets that don't agree with my tweets are fake news. The mockery of the specific mechanism of truth suppression delivered in the first person of the man doing suppressing from a British comedian who is under no obligation to manage the mockery for professional survival. The LBC interview is the record. The David Brent comparison is the record. The MAGA celebration lasted 48 hours and then is quietly dropped when someone reads the 2016 Business Insider interview, March 2026. The interview that produces the 7 minutes. Gervais is on a British talk show, not American late night, not Comedy Central, not a platform where the administration has demonstrated the ability to apply pressure on the host employer. A British talk show on British television, broadcast in Britain, available to American audiences on streaming, on social media, on the platforms that the administration has not yet developed a mechanism to regulate from the outside. The host asks about the pattern, the way Trump has responded to American comedians, the Kimmel suspension, the Colbert cancellation, the Springsteen boycott calls, the Rosie citizenship threat, the Bautista 48-hour silence, the pattern of a president who responds to comedians. What does Gervais make of it? Gervais takes a beat. Here is the thing about responding to comedians, he says, in the flat, methodical register he uses when he is not building to a punchline, but building to an argument. The moment a powerful person responds to a comedian, they have elevated the comedian to their level. They have said, this person is worth my time. And the moment you say a comedian is worth your time, you have told the audience that the comedian has found something real. You have confirmed it, without meaning to. You have peer-reviewed the joke. The studio laughs. Gervais does not. So every time Trump posts about Kimmel's ratings, he is confirming that Kimmel's segment contains something true. Every time he calls Springsteen a dried-up prune, he is confirming that the Minneapolis speech identified something accurate. Every time he threatens to revoke Rosie O'Donnell's citizenship, he is confirming that the party anecdote bothered him. The response is a review, and the review has been consistently 5 stars. The studio erupts. Gervais is still not laughing. He is not performing the comedian's relationship to his own material, the warmth of someone sharing a joke. He is in the register of someone presenting evidence. Now, he has never responded to me. Beat. And I want to talk about why. He settles back in the chair. The specific body language of a man who is about to say something he has been thinking about for a long time and has decided to say carefully. He cannot respond to me. Not because I'm cleverer than Kimmel. Kimmel is brilliant. Not because I'm braver than Springsteen. Springsteen is extraordinary. Because I'm outside the jurisdiction. I'm British. I live in London. I can't vote in his elections. I don't have an Emmy he can threaten. I don't have citizenship he can revoke. I don't have a network deal he can pressure. I am, from his perspective, completely outside the range of every management tool he has developed across 40 years of managing people through reward and punishment. Pause. And what that means, from outside the jurisdiction, is that what I see is the tool itself, not the target, the tool. And the tool is very simple. It has 2 settings, reward and punishment. If you serve the image, you are welcomed. If you don't serve the image, you are attacked. And the attack always takes the same form. Your appearance, your ratings, your relevance, your legal status. Always a container. Never the content. Because the content is the thing that has to not be engaged with. The content is the thing that, if engaged with honestly, confirms a comedian. He pauses again. He's been confirming the comedians for 10 years. Every post, every response, every dried-up prune and garbage bag full of buttermilk, and total loser who moved to Ireland. He has written, in his own hand, on his own platform, the most comprehensive peer review of political comedy in the history of the medium. Every post is a 5-star review of the thing it was meant to destroy. The 7 minutes end there. The clip travels, not through American broadcast, which does not pick it up on the day of broadcast, because the day of broadcast there is other material competing for the segment slot. It travels through social media, through the platforms that are not inside the jurisdiction of the management tool, through the sharing mechanism of people who recognize that the argument about jurisdiction is not just a joke about a comedian from SLU who called a president a David Brent character in 2016. It is a complete structural description of why the management tool, for all its demonstrated power across every American institution has been applied to, has a specific and permanent limitation. It only works inside the jurisdiction. Trump posts about Gervais the following morning. He calls The Office a very boring British show that Americans were much better at. He says Gervais is not funny and never was. He says the interview was watched by almost nobody. The post is screenshot and placed beside the 7-minute clip. The peer review continues. 5 stars. The people who subscribe to this channel don't come for drama. They come for the moments nobody else is willing to show. Join them. Subscribe. Turn on notifications. The next truth is already on the table.